Welcome to Sing Scarlet. It's Shelby here with Tyler again, and we are stoked to talk about a big win for Texas Tech soccer over at LSU in a really, really fun game coming up on Friday against number one. Who doesn't want to play number one? I think it's the first time in school history that Texas Tech soccer gets a chance to play the number one team in the tournament, which is going to happen on Friday. So we're going to talk about that. We got clips from Coach Stone, amongst others. Going to talk about the Lady Raiders off to a 5-0 start, including a really solid, should be a good resume win come March over Washington State, which this team's goal is to get in the tournament, and you need wins like that to do that. So talk about that, and then other things we've seen. They also beat ACU last night, and then what's ahead for them. Also, a lot of other things going on as we speak. Volleyball is playing down in Waco right now, giving number 17 Baylor a good fight. Tyler will pop in and update on us on that match if we need to throughout, but it's going on live. And then, football's back in action. Some nice thoughts from Joey McGuire on the team. I respected what he had to say in his press conference this week, and all the other things going on in Texas Tech sports is what we're going to get into. So, how's it going, Tyler?
It's going.
It's
We're
going.
still going on these busy weeks of, every season is crossing over right now. So,
Yeah,
but it's been
close
fun.
close to a holiday. Close to a little
Yes.
holiday next week. It's
Yes.
wild to me
So
that
close.
Thanksgiving is next week. It's kind of I need to I
But it's
need to
also
get
really
busy.
late. Yeah. It's kind of late this year though.
It's
We'll go into December on like Sunday or something next week.
Thanksgiving's
Like
always the
next
same
Sunday. Yeah.
time, Tyler. It's always the fourth week in November.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like the days are much later this
Yeah,
year, you know.
I'll
But
go with that. We'll go with it, Tyler. Whatever. So let's get into soccer. You were at the game, LSU.
Neutral, yes.
Yeah, you were neutral. You were absolutely not
Right,
neutral, but
right.
outwardly you were neutral. What were your thoughts? We're gonna show the highlights and get into all that before we preview the big game on Friday. But we got to give them their shine for what was a really big 2-1 win. We really dominated that game outside of like a little bit of a oopsie daisy there at the beginning of the second half. But outside of that, we were definitely the better team from start to finish, pretty much. So, but how were the vibes? It looked like a great crowd.
Yes, it was a really good crowd. We had a crowd of 1,778. That is the
Ooh.
fifth highest attended crowd at John Walker Stadium in history. So thank y'all fans for showing out. I know it was cold and there was like a lot of other things going on in Lubbock. But very impressive crowd. The vibes were really high and that first half was incredible. I mean, two goals in the first half against the LSU team that, is kind of good. So very
Yeah.
impressive.
Any team in the tournament is good, and you got a Power Five team. A lot of teams in the first round got some random mid majors. We did not. We got a team that had been tested against the best teams and had beaten some top teams like Auburn that we talked about last week. And you saw their ability to. They had some scary moments against us, but then we kind of took control overall. I thought, yeah, that first half, the best we've looked in quite some time. Like that doesn't
I
mean we
agree.
looked bad. I just was like, oh, like we were
Yeah,
locked in. Like after those first few
we
minutes,
were.
we were really locked in. Some of those, I think, we'll see it in the highlights. I'll pull them up in a second. But I think there was like a Meg, but like Macy like went between someone's legs over to Caitlin Giametta and back and forth, and I got us like our first corner of the game. And from that moment on, LSU was like they had no chance. It was like that. It was like
Yeah.
that got it. Our players were like, okay, we can play with you now. We can just mess with you now. And they went on and they scored. You'll see a goal. The first goal is just stupid. Like I don't know how many
It
times we'll be able
was.
to rewind the highlights, so we'll get into them. But the ball from Macy Blackburn is. I know it was a little bit
Incredible.
windy, and I'm sure she calibrated and used the wind a little bit, maybe, but it was absurd. It's like going straight at the keeper, and the keeper thinks it's coming to her, so she comes out to try to get the ball, and then she's like, "Oh shit!" Like halfway out there, and she's like, "This is not good," because the ball. It was like almost like a slider in baseball. It was like
It
going
was.
like a fastball straight, and this girl's getting ready to take a home run swing, and then whoo, slices down, and she's like, "Well, I'm SOL. I hope this girl misses it." And Taylor Shadesky did not miss it at
Yep.
all. And it was not an
Banks it
easy
in.
finish. Like, it was
It
like
was
a
not.
one touch, like, had to get it past the keeper at least to the backside of the net. I mean, her story, what a story. What If y'all have not been watching our show for some reason, she's one of the stories of the early Texas Tech sports season. Her, the comeback year. I don't know how they're going to pick comeback player of the year on this team this year, but for her to do what she's done, she came in, brief synopsis of her story. She came into Texas Tech as like one of the best recruits, the all-time leading. I think she has the high school scoring record in Texas Tech or in Texas high school history for a season, like 100 and something stupid goals in 1 year. It was a big recruit, and then had that injury her freshman year that fans will remember, and it just took her a little bit longer to come back, which happens sometimes. And man, is she back? I mean, boy, is she back, and it's been special, and she's going to have a really fun career. But up to 10 goals, that was her 10th goal of the season.
It
Now
was,
leads us
yes.
just one ahead of Peyton Parsons, who's also not comeback player of the year because she was a big part of last year's team. She just wasn't a goal scorer on last year's team. She's right behind her with 9 goals, and Peyton was out there making people look silly all game. She had a rainbow flick at the end, and that little LSU player was so up in her feelings, she ran down there and just shoved her to the ground. I was dying, rolling on the floor laughing. I was like, oh my God, you piss someone off when they do something petty like that. And then Peyton just stood up like it was nothing, just like, okay, cool, whatever. Anyway, Peyton was great. And then the second goal was Skylar Haase, who's been also a great story coming out this year as a sophomore. Both goals scored by sophomores.
Yes, it was Haase's 5th goal of the year and assisted by Macy again. So, Macy,
Macy had a game.
she's
How
just
about
great.
it?
Yes, very great. We told you playoff Macy is gonna,
I'm
or
terrified.
tournament Macy. Yeah, terrified.
Yeah.
Be terrified, Duke. Get ready.
Yeah. I'm excited to see her go against Duke. She'll have a fun time. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's just show you all these highlights in case you missed them. But that was what you need to look for. But there's also a lot of other fun moments in here, including some good saves by Faith. Dog win as she does.
Round of the Raiders finished second.
No offense, Jeff. Oh,
Terms of overall record, the Red Raiders finished second in the conference. I'm Jeff Haxton. She's got trouble up to the right.
Save.
LSU
Faith.
lines it up.
Dang.
I mean, almost in her face. Blackburn. This is the ball. Oh, what just happened? Sorry,
Whoa.
guys. Just skipped on us. Look at this ball.
Look
at it.
That
I think it shows the whole replay.
crazy.
So we can just talk over it. But just watch on the replays. This is a really long replay. You'll get to see multiple views, which it definitely deserves to see every view and every angle of this. But that ball, like literally straight at the keeper. She's like, oh, I got this. I'm just going to go out here and grab this. I'm going to be the hero here. No big deal. And then it just goes right to the foot of Z. Watch it at the end. Just absurd.
Too good.
Well,
Macy can score from back there. So, every goalkeeper's like, they don't know what she's going to do when it comes to a free kick like that. So, it just timed perfectly.
Yeah, that was, we've seen some magical service from Macy, but that might be one of the best. That is one of the best that I've ever seen her. And that's, there's a long list to choose from. And the hype, the finish from Z, 10th goal of the year, 5th assisted by Macy. I think Macy's up to 10 assists on the season. And she didn't play the full year, guys, so that's where she is. I think the record's like 12 or something. She was one short of it last year at 11, I believe. So go ahead and get yourself 2 more assists against Duke and set a new single season record. That'd be hype. But yeah, Macy's been her. And this is another chance. I believe this was Peyton Parsons got that ball in to Z again, who got her head on it, but they kind of cleared it off the line. But we almost got another goal right after it.
Just chested out of there. That was so much closer than it looked. Hustle from Blackburn.
Oh, look, another goal from Macy.
Cross. It is a goal! Skylar Haase from Macy Blackburn.
That's sophomore Skylar Haase. You said 5th goal in the year? She's also, I think, all five of her goals this year, just also her 5 career goals. She didn't have any career goals coming into the year. And Tom Stone told a good story after this game about how she spent the last 3 weeks of practice getting in extra time before and after with Charlotte Masters, formerly Teeter, that played Texas Tech captain. She's an assistant coach now on the team, and she spent time with her before and after practice, specifically working on finishing headers. Like she knows that she's 6 foot. She knows that she has just a physical presence that is an advantage that other players don't have, and she wants to be able to take advantage of that. And so she's been working on that in practice. So hard work pays off. I thought that was a cool story. And these things don't just come out of nowhere, right? That's why this team is who they are. That's why they're able to do this, and all these new players have been able to break out. While other people know these other names and these other folks that maybe you thought would be playing in this moment at this point in the year, but weren't because of, all the injuries early in the year. These other players have stepped up. They're ready for these moments because of stories like that. They've been putting in the work, so it's really cool. And that's one of the better finishes you'll see, like a headers for sure. Look at this placement from far out to get it past the keeper.
Incredible.
And the ball from Macy, perfect. Again, what are you gonna do?
Redirected into the corner.
I think it hits off the post a little bit.
That's why it's the beautiful game.
Absurd.
Wow.
So big moment for her. So just a sophomore.
And you get to go into the half up 2-0, so you're sitting very comfortable.
Yeah, almost up 3-0. This was right at the end of the half, right after that goal. Almost had another one.
Started off rapid, not anymore.
I think that was
almost had a goal
Cassie
there.
on the backside.
And that one just trips over.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. Now we're into the second half. They scored off of. Listen, we made a mistake and then they took advantage. So credit LSU.
Right.
They did what they did, but then we took back control and had a lot of chances towards the end of this one to really go up 3-1 at least. But some good moments for sure.
Blackbird.
Great ball.
Strzeżewski taken out.
I think Peyton didn't realize. I don't know if she got turned around a little bit here, but she had a chance at goal there.
Parsons trying
Couldn't
to
get her
jam
footing
it
on it,
home. LSU holds. This will be a shot.
This save.
What a save by Faith Wynn.
Wow. She jumped.
For the ball.
Yeah, I don't know if it shows a replay of that. I don't think it does, but she jumped.
She saved
I
this
mean,
game
hopefully
being
it does. She
equal
jumped
again.
all the way up. No, she doesn't. It was probably going to hit the post, but I don't know if it was going to hit the top of the post or the bottom of the post. If it hits the bottom of the post, it could bounce right on in. And so she got a fingertip on that to at least make it hit farther up the post and then scurried over there to make sure it didn't go in. So, yeah, I think Tom Stone said after the game, if they make that goal, I don't know how, you don't know how it's going to go because that would have been a big momentum change if they got 2 goals, but we were able to stop it. And then from there, we really took control. It was like almost like seeing Faith do that and everybody exhaled or something and then just got back to doing it. It literally, everyone's like, that's right. We have Faith back there. We're good. We're good. And I think also Tom said an adjustment they made mid-game was, which you probably noticed if you watched the game or were there, we were letting Faith just kind of punt the ball and kick it really far every time on goal kicks. And Tom was like, hey, why don't we just build up from the back, like we do instead? And so they made that switch, and that let us get back in control of the possession, and we really didn't look back from there. We'll see. I don't know how many chances they include in the highlights, but we had plenty of chances to get this up to 3-1. But most of all, we just took back control of the game. We were the better team for 80% of this match, in my opinion.
I agree. The only stat that LSU was ahead of us in was corner kicks, and they had 4 in the second half. But, I mean, obviously against Duke, you don't want to have that many corner kicks, but we were able to maintain control and keep the game out of reach.
Oh, this one, I don't know how Ashley gets her foot on that. That's just Ashley Williams. That's who she is. She almost scored off that somehow. Between 3 people, she ninja kicks, gets her leg way up there on that weird bounce. That was crazy. That's just Ashley Williams, and then good credit to the keeper there for being alert enough to stop it, but she almost got it. Aw, team. They were also a hype after this too, the celebration. I love that this team isn't too big to celebrate, Some people are like, oh, you're expected to win, you shouldn't celebrate. Hell no. Hell no. You know how much work has gone into this? All the things they've overcome and all the things they've done? Celebrate. Live it up.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. So
I mean, it's also their last game at the Walker, so they knew that they have to soak it all in, especially your seniors, because incredible. Very incredible.
The big part of this is really cool to see the seniors get to get a dub in their final game at Walker, and go out feeling a little bit happier about that. Not that just the BYU loss would have been the only thing they ever thought about, right? There's plenty of other wins, lots of wins they've had at Walker, and some big ones too. But it's always nice to finish out with a win.
It is.
So that was cool for them too. So that's the highlights. Moving forward now, they beat LSU. That meant you get the winner of #1 overall seed Duke and Howard. Unsurprisingly, Duke took care of business there. They beat Howard 8-0. Bit of a mismatch. There's a lot of people acting like this would be the biggest upset in the world if we beat Duke, which it would be an upset. But this is not like David and Goliath. David and Goliath was Duke versus Howard. Like, this is Duke
Right.
versus Texas Tech. You know what I mean? Like, we've won 15 games as well. I think we've won the same amount of games. Different conferences, different resumes. They very, very, very much like deserve to be the number one overall team, as we'll talk about in your here. So they're very good at soccer, but would it be an upset? Yes, it would be an upset. They're the number one overall seed. Anytime you take out that team before they get to the College Cup, the Final Four would be an upset, right? But
Right.
would it make me like pass out and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened? No. So
No.
David and Goliath was last week for Duke. Now it's Texas Tech versus Duke, and we'll kind of get into who the teams are. But do you know much about Duke before we can show some clips from a preview I did with the voice of Duke mini sports,
Yeah.
Chris Edwards?
No.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't know much about Duke going in. We've not really a familiar opponent. North Carolina is, but not necessarily Duke. The only thing is, they did start off their season with that 0-1 loss to Ohio State, Big Ten team similar to us and Penn State, and then they didn't win their conference championship because they lost to North Carolina. But they beat UNC twice, who's really, really good. So, I mean, I've just seen that they've been number one, so I'm assuming that Duke is good. But Chris obviously goes way more into detail and explains why they're good.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. If you missed it, you can go back on our YouTube page. It'll be the video right before this. I had Chris Edwards. He's an old friend of mine that works. He covers a lot of sports at Duke, but I worked with him in baseball. So when I realized he also did some soccer games because he did their tournament game, and I was like, oh, wait, that's Chris. And so I messaged him and was like, hey, you got to come on the show and give us the lowdown. So he had all the notes and the stories and all that. So I'll play a short 2-minute clip from that, but you can see, I think it's like a 25-minute video. He goes into depth on it if you really want to know their story. It's a cool story, and we'll touch on it a little bit too after he talks. But we're going to disappear, and you'll get to watch this clip. So BRB.
It shows the leadership that this senior class has provided, right? And I think, for Duke to be in this position and the number one overall seed for the first time in program history, which is kind of a wild thing to say, considering the players that have come and the teams that Duke has had, have gone to College Cup, the number one overall seed. And I don't know that anybody's super thrilled with the draw. I mean, Texas Tech's going to be a tough second round opponent. They're a top 20 team, right? And then you get Texas or somebody else after that. Like, listen, it's really competitive, and that's college sports across the board. But that's kind of a snippet, I think, of the Blue Devils. Like, really, really solid club. Not a lot of weaknesses. They can attack you in a bunch of different ways. And I think that they're obviously going to be a hard out because they're the number one overall seed. And protecting this home turf is really important to these guys. So
they do.
It'll be fun on Friday night. I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere. Weather looks great. It's fun this time of year, right? Because like we've talked about this. I talked to Robbie about it last week. You get to the NCAA tournament, you know that the finality of the season is here. Like any game could be your last game, and like can't take it for granted anymore. And that's why he likes the ACC tournament is because it's a one and done kind of game. You don't get that in the regular season, and you don't play everybody in the ACC now with the imbalanced schedule with all the teams, Stanford, Cal, whatever. So you get a chance to see more teams, and you get a chance to get that one and done before you get to the postseason. And I think that certainly helps this Duke team. And listen, maybe a loss is not a bad thing for Duke, right? Like you lose a game late, gives you a chance to reset. Like, wouldn't you rather lose a game in the ACC tournament than the NCAA tournament? Yeah, you absolutely would. So it's going to be sad whenever the season ends because just Robbie is so well liked and everybody loves Robbie and is rooting for him. But hopefully the Blue Devils can get it done this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't, but he's great. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm just honored to get to see them in person, get to see them play up here at Duke as well. So it's gonna be That was Chris Edwards on Duke. So if you aren't aware who Robbie Church is, this is his 31st season at Duke. One of the best coaches to do it, and it's his final season. And there was some talk of it being his final season last year and his 30th year, but we talk about that with Chris. It's kind of a cool story for Duke, right? That this year, if we weren't playing them, I'd be rooting for them, right? That they didn't make the NCAA tournament last year in his 30th season. It was a really down year. After 2 years of almost making it to the College Cup, basically, and then you come back that year and it was like, just wasn't them, and they didn't even make the tournament, and they spent all of November while everybody else is playing, like using every allowed hour of practice. A lot of teams will just like let their players go and like, hey, break, we'll come back in December, January, whatever, but go enjoy Thanksgiving. No, they were like practicing every hour they're allowed to practice in November last year while everybody else was playing. And you've seen that, and they brought in a lot of transfers. They had some fifth years choose to return instead of either transfer or going pro, and they've had the season you've seen. So they're very, very talented. Our team is not going to go there not respecting that they're a very talented team, right? They have they've scored like 62 goals on the season, only allowed 13. They have multiple weapons. I think they have 2 players with 12 goals each, and then they have 4 with at least 5. And the really impressive stat is they have 3 different players with at least 10 assists. So the creating of opportunities is coming from a lot of different people, and a lot of people are able to set up their teammates, and that makes them a little bit hard to guard. Not a little bit. That makes them hard to guard, right? And we're a team built on defense, so I'm sure we're excited for the challenge. But that's kind of who they are. They're just really good, and they can attack you in a lot of different ways. And people have been asking me this week as if I would really know. This would be a much better question for the team or for Tom Stone, but like, who in the Big 12 do they remind you of? And I don't know that there's a one-for-one comparison. The best offensively, I would say BYU, just because of the type of attack they can do. But even more specifically, I would say BYU last year. BYU's offense this year was really good, but BYU's offense last year scored like 80 goals or something, if y'all remember that team. And they had a lot of different people doing it, and they had some players that went on to be drafted and all the things. So, and we have experienced that. There's a good chunk of players on this team that played BYU last year. They played BYU this year. They have Ali Fryer, and you have some Ali Fryer type players on this Duke team. So we've shown that we can play. Like we allowed 2 goals to BYU, I think, both last year and this year. But holding BYU to 2 goals is actually pretty solid, right? Especially last year's BYU team. Holding this Duke team to 2 goals would absolutely give you a chance to win, and I think that we would be happy with that. Of course, we're not going in there expecting to give up 2 goals or being like, let's give up 2 goals. Like, but I'm saying that if that's a bar, if we play in that same way and that same intensity, sure. And then I would just flip that and say, on the defensive end, I think they're much better than that BYU team was, because defensively, at least on paper, they've only allowed 13 goals. So that's the difference between them and BYU, is that you could kind of score on that BYU team at times. And this Duke team only really allows, I think they average like 7 shots allowed that's all during games. Now the games where they've given up goals and against the better teams like UNC, Notre Dame, it's more in that 15 shot range. And so that's where you're shooting from, is like we need to try to get in that range. But yeah, they're a good team. I don't know that there's a one-for-one comparison, but the type of offense, that's the best I could go to for you. I mean, TCU on some level, but I think just the size and the presence of their scores reminds me more of BYU a little bit. But even this year we played pretty good. We played good defense against BYU, really. They only scored 2 free kick goals. They didn't score in the run of play against us. So we have some reasons to be confident, like, hey, we played players like this before. We just got to really lock in and like limit our mistakes, because they'll take advantage of all of them.
I agree. I think that like you always say, the first 20 minutes of the soccer game is going to be very important. But I do think that if Duke does happen to get a goal first, like, you don't need to stress out, because as we've seen in postseason, like, this team they'll fight for that next goal and they'll create opportunities themselves. It's just a matter of, can we finish off these opportunities? And I think what we saw from Skylar on Friday last week was her being able to finish strong, and we need a lot of other people to step up on that end as well. But defensively, I think we should be pretty good. We got Macy back there, and Faith, obviously, was last resort, so we should be good.
The Rock Taylor, the stalwart back
Cassie,
there.
Yes.
I mean, talking about that BYU game last year, I mean, if you want to see a hero-level effort, Cassie Taylor was insane, even this year's game. But I remember Cassie against BYU at BYU last year, just making these ridiculous tackles and saves off the line to keep us in that game and help us get that tie. So, yeah, I'm very happy to have Cassie back there.
Yes,
Molly
for
has
sure.
been great since she's been moved into that center back role next to her. Obviously, Elise and Macy, everybody knows Macy for the assist and all the things. She was the defender of the year. We're going to need her to show that side of her game this one, because they do like to attack from the outsides as well. They attack from everywhere, but they'll send some speed at you down the lines for sure. So when we're getting up, we're going to have to be ready to all the things, you know. But yeah, I agree. I think we're going to have opportunities. It's just about taking advantage of them. I think, yeah, if Duke makes mistakes, of course, take advantage of their mistakes. But I don't think it's a situation where we have to go in there and praying that Duke messes up. I think we are capable of creating our own opportunities. When we get them, though, yeah, like you said, they need to finish at the quality that we did against LSU, and we can actually absolutely make it a game. And if you're in it, then you can win it. You know, you just got to keep yourself in it, and you can't allow it to get away from you, and just keep fighting. But we'll see how it goes. Of course, if there's a world that gets out of hand, sure, whatever. If we're just not playing like us, but if we play like us, I think let me put it this way: any team that has Macy Blackburn, Cassie Taylor, Elise Anderson, Peyton Parsons, Molly Skrzyncki, Ashley Williams, like those type of competitive, the personalities alone, I don't see stepping on a field and thinking, God, we have no chance to win this game. That's just not how they're wired. They're just not built that way. So I always go into any game watching it expecting to see them fight and give it a chance. And so I'm excited to see them go. There's a lot of stars on Duke. Duke has had the opportunity to play some big teams all year because of the conference they're in. This is our opportunity to prove that we can play on that same field as those teams as well. We're just not in their conference, but hey, we get the chance to do it now. So let's go put up and show out. So I'm excited to see them do it for sure.
I know. We've played pretty much every Big 12 team like closely, so I'm not too concerned. I think we're going to be able to keep up. Even if people are looking at that Penn State game, that was way early in the year. We had lost Sam, so
different team.
Yeah, totally different. Whole 180. So going up against a higher caliber opponent isn't Duke. I think that, yeah, as long as you keep it close, we should be able to make it be a very competitive game. It could be penalty kicks, overtime. Who knows?
We'll
see.
We would be happy with that. I think I think even Chris said that. He's like, yeah, they're going to want to get off to a good start so that they don't start feeling the pressure of the moment because they are the higher seed. And so they are going to be expected to handle us. Everyone, you know, outside of Texas Tech is expecting us to probably get beat, you know, and hopefully not handily. Hopefully they have more respect than that for us, but they are expecting us to get beat. So the more pressure you put on that team in that moment, the better. And they do have quite a bit of depth. They feel like they have a depth advantage. Something interesting, and I could be wrong on this. I'm open to always being wrong on my takes. I understand. I try. But I was thinking about it, right? Just because of how silly the NCAA tournament is in soccer, the structure of it, and how you get a week between round 1 and round 2, and then only a day between round 2 and 3. The seeding structure, it almost benefits us to be an 8 seed in this situation. Because, like, if we had beaten BYU and ran out the Big 12 tournament, we're probably a 5 seed, right? Probably still get sent to, there's a good chance we still get sent to Durham as the 5 seed because the 5 and the 4 seed are here as well. So yeah, in that scenario, we have a much higher possibility of making the Sweet 16, which would be cool to say you made it for 2 years in a row. But there's a little bit of a statistical probability here that maybe your chances to beat number 1 Duke are a little bit higher as the 8 seed because you get to do it on a week's rest. And if they feel like they have the depth advantage over us, I think we have some good game changers, but I get it. They have some like all conference players, I think, that even come off their bench. So I get it. They feel like they can go 16, 17 deep. I'd rather play them on a week's rest where we can have all of our people and it doesn't come down to which team has the depth in the second half because you only have 1 day rest. If we were the 5 seed, we beat the 4 seed, we played Duke on 1 day rest. Now we get to at least play Duke on 7 days rest or 6 days rest. You know what I'm saying? Take a little positive spin turn with me. I get it. But in a way, I think because of the silliness of the NCAA soccer tournament and the fact that you have to play round 3 on 1 day's rest, I think the best chance of getting out of this region, it quite possibly might be the way that it's set up right now for us to get to play Duke with a full week of preparation and rest. So there's a little positive spin for you guys if you're looking for something. If you're trying to take down the number 1 overall seed, at least we know that our stars and our hosses are ready to go and their tanks are full.
Right. No, I agree. I think you'd rather face them now than, later. And I think that also in the event we do win, and if the team, the 4th seed in our region, takes care of business to not be named, then that's at least an opponent that we're kind of similar with from last year. Obviously, Tom Stone will be similar in our players, so it could be an advantage. We have to, obviously, we're not going to be overlooking Duke, but it's definitely something to consider and look at. But yeah, that is a positive spin. It could very well happen.
Yeah, I can pretty much find the positive spin on anything in life. Some people hate me for it, some people love me for it, but that's just who I am. I can't help it. But I think it's the truth. I'm not BSing. I'm just saying. I think it's the truth. I think there's some truth to it. But yeah, if they win, when we win, we will play the winner of Michigan State and Texas. That would be the thou shalt not name that Tyler was saying there. And yeah, both teams are really good. Texas is playing really well right now. So I think, is Texas the 5 seed? They might be the 5, not the 4. But either way, I think they're probably favored in this. But I would see if Michigan State can get it done. But if not, that would be cool. Yeah, if you're going to play someone on 1 day's rest in preparation, like you said, we know Texas pretty well. We know their style, but if it ends up being Michigan State, our coaching staff is good. But yeah, the team can't look ahead, but we can, because I don't know that we had talked to y'all before then. Maybe we'll do an emergency pod if they when they beat Duke.
Yes,
that would be
emergency.
That'd be hype. So yeah, so that would be on Sunday. Again, structure of the NCAA soccer tournament is weird. We saw that last year. We did that, and then we had to play UNC on 1 day's rest, and I think that the tired legs got us in the second half. But this year we get to play Duke on full week's rest, so positive vibes. We have a clip here. Oh wait, okay, got it. This is Tech Batman. He's doing his hate week, and he just wants to let people know Tom Stone went to Duke. If you're unaware, Tom Stone is an alum of Duke. He played for the men's soccer team there. He won a national championship for them and scored the game-winning goal. We've talked about that before. Tech Batman has a comment on our show. If you're listening on the audio version, it just says, y'all relax. Tom Stone went to Duke solely as a double agent for this very game. Sharpie that Sweet 16. That's like what, however many years ago that would have been, 40 years ago, 30 years ago in advance, thinking about this moment. To prep, yeah, that's a very Tom Stone thing to do, actually. So I believe it, Tech Batman. I believe it.
I believe it too. Sharpie it is crazy though, but Sharpie it.
Sharpie it. Well, don't get a tattoo maybe, but Sharpie it.
Yeah.
All right, here is Tom Stone leading up. I think they had a press conference yesterday, back before they headed up to Durham. And this is his few thoughts on the first bit of it is about the team this year and about their togetherness and all the things they've overcome and how that's become, who they are and kind of made them who they are and what they've done this year and the success that they've had. And then he also talks about the matchup with Duke and what they're about to face. So enjoy.
Yeah, it has all year. And I do believe that there are years. I mean, most coaches will say, we're together and we're a family. And, they throw out every cliche. And I think most teams are together some of the time. The season's a bit of a roller coaster, but through the downtimes this year, we stayed together. I mean, the opening 3 weeks were no fun, and we could have easily been like, we lost a lot of players, and this is going to be a tough year, and we could have not packed it in, but we could have been a little less resilient in that moment, and the team just banded. Our leadership has been great. Macy and Elise and Crunch and Molly, who's been in the back, and Peyton Parsons, who's a rising leader. I mean, they've just really done a great job holding it together, almost saying, okay, fine, we've had a bunch of issues, but now what? We can decide that this is going to be a down year, or we can decide this is going to be a great year, and they turned it into a great year. That's a lot, and they're averaging close to 3 a game. So if she's the only one we have to worry about, I think we'll be okay. As good as she is, but she's not. There's a lot of young ladies who can put the ball away on that team, and that's kind of been one of our assets too, right? Z just now got to 10, which is amazing, by the way, given what she went through. But other players have stepped up and scored. I mean, Skylar's goal was one of the best headers you've seen at Walker, maybe ever. And, she's on 6, and Peyton's on 9, and Z's on 10, and Ashley's on 5 or 6. And so we got a lot of players that have scored, and that's an asset for us as well.
Is there any intimidation factor playing a number 1 seed?
No, I think we're respectful for sure. And we're going to be concerned about certain aspects of what they can do and what they're going to try to do. But I don't feel that from our team. Texas Tech talks about being fearless champions. We've already been champions here a few times, and we've remained fearless year in and year out. I think we'll be nervous, like every team will. But as we have to be excited about playing the top seed, they have to also do what's expected, and sometimes expectations are heavy. So we'll see. That's not on us. That part's not on us.
That's right. That's not on us. That's on Duke to handle. I love that. That's why I love Tom Stone. But yeah, we were talking about that. This team's just not wired that way. That's why they can do what they've done. That's why they've been able to have the season they've had. Like you said, they're just kind of like, okay, bet to all the different challenges that came along the way, because they're not scared. They want to play these teams, right? They want to play them. Maybe they feel like they should have had a higher seed, but they might have been here anyway. We just talked about that, right? So you get to play the number one team. You get to go out and kind of to match your talent with that. And we absolutely have players on this team that will be playing pro soccer, just like Duke has players on this team that are going to be playing pro soccer. Like, this is not a thing where we don't deserve to be on the field with this team. They just have a depth of talent and experience and all these things. We're going to have to be at our best, but I'm excited to see them do it. No pressure. Like he said, I mean, the pressure's not on us. The pressure's on Duke. We had
Right.
that last year. The pressure was on us last year, and we played a really salty Princeton. Like, we know how that feels. Like, we had teams give us their best fight, and we were able to squeak it out as the 2 seed. But we've experienced that from the other end, right? Just last year. And now Duke's on their end. We're the team that gets to come in there and play a little free, a little loose, like no one's expecting you to win. So, like, there's really no pressure. The pressure was last week. Now it's just like, go up there and have fun and show who you are and play Texas Tech soccer,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, also with their coach retiring and them not making the tournament last year, Duke, like, that's a lot. That's a lot of emotions there. And, soccer, it can be very mental at times. So if we end up taking a lead and Duke just forgets how to play soccer, I would not be surprised,
I personally would be surprised if Duke forgot how to play soccer. I'm not putting that on them. But I don't disagree with the first half of that statement. That, yeah, I think, of course, getting a goal early would definitely make them start thinking a little bit. And have to come back, because I don't know how many times they've been in that position and had to come back. We haven't been in that position a lot ourselves. We're very similar teams when you look at statistics, outside of they've scored a lot more goals. But defensively, we don't give up a lot either. And so, yeah, I'm just excited to see them fight. I can't predict what's going to happen. I'm not going to try to, but I'm excited to see them go to war out there, and I'm hoping that they come away with a W, and that would be a pretty special win for them to celebrate for a day and then get to play again a day later. But hey, that's the way it goes.
Yes. Huge win.
Huge win. All right, go do the dang thing. You can watch Texas Tech soccer on Friday. It's at 6:30 Eastern, so 5:30 Central Time on ESPN+. Get home from work. I know a lot of people maybe are getting ready to go out of town for the holiday and all the things. Maybe just sneak one more sporting event in your lives. It's before the basketball game that night up in Brooklyn, I believe. You can have a doubleheader on your couch that night, just watching Texas Tech sports. But it'll get underway at 5:30 on ESPN+, and it should be some good soccer. If you like soccer, if you don't like soccer, whatever it is, you're just watching for Texas Tech, it's going to be good soccer from both sides. Really great players on display in this one.
Agreed. Also, before we wrap up with soccer, there's some accolades that I think we need to bring up. So the first thing is the College Sports Communications. They released the academic all-district team for Texas Tech. So Taylor, Macy, Molly, Jill, Peyton, and Cassie, they all got that. So
Peyton
congrats
Parsons,
to our...
there's like 5 Peytons on this
I
team.
forgot. Yes. So shout out to our academic weapons. And then Macy was named to the top drawer team of the week. So
Nobody's
lots
shocked
of
by
good
that.
stuff. Yeah, no one's shocked.
Yeah.
But
2 assists, and
give her
that is
her
crazy.
flowers.
Yeah, she's insane. She just gets better every game. It's wild to me. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Duke to get to experience Macy. Their fans are going to be like, oh my gosh, if she's good. They're about to be graced by Macy Blackburn playing soccer. I can't wait for them. It's a fun day for Duke on Friday. Get to watch Texas Tech. Aren't they like so lucky to get to watch Texas Tech soccer play in their stadium?
I know.
Those fans
So
don't know
lucky.
what they're in for. They're just in for some good soccer. So anyway, that's that. Can't wait to go watch them do the dang thing and get that dub on Friday. So go soccer. Congrats. Awesome season. I hope it continues.
Agreed.
A little earlier in their season, at the beginning of their season, we're going to switch over now to basketball. The Lady Raiders are now 5-0. We said last week we would know a little bit more about this team this time next week, and I think we do know a little bit more. There's still some things they're figuring out, and we'll talk about it, but they're 5-0, and they got a really, really solid win against Washington State. That's a power conference team with power conference talent. That's a team that's been in the NCAA tournament, I think 2 out of the last 3, maybe 3 out of the last 4 years. And the 1 year they didn't make it, they made the WBIT. Like, they're just always in the postseason, right? So
Yes.
they have a good coach that's from Lubbock. They're very well coached, and they have good players. And you saw that, the length, the athleticism. But we were able to come out of there with a 56-52 win. Gritty, not pretty effort, but who cares? Winning
Agreed.
is pretty. Winning is always pretty. Winning is always fun. You were there once again. How was it? The fourth quarter was as intense and hype as I've heard on TV, the USA for a Lady Raider game in quite some time. So I'm sure it was even more so in person.
Yes, no, I thought that the crowd showed up really great. Saturday night basketball and the game, it was really, really defensive. Those first 3 quarters, I mean, we were just neck and neck with them the entire time. And in the fourth quarter, you want to talk about resilient team. We were down by as many as 7 points with about 9 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. And we just turned it around, which it's hard to do because, as Brandy said on the broadcast, I rewatched the game. When you're down by 7 in an all-defensive battle, that can feel like 14 points.
Oh, it felt like 14 points to me watching it.
Yeah, it can feel like that. And, we were having shots were getting hard to come by. I was not necessarily a fan of, Washington State had us down, like, not shooting the ball until 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and that was almost nearly every possession. So it was very, very tough to watch. But then Shavers and Maupin and Sarah, all 3 of them, and Logan, all 4 of them, they all strung together in like the best fourth quarter I think I've ever seen. Those last 6 minutes.
It really was, yeah. In the fourth quarter, I just pulled it up to make sure I had it right, but Jasmine Shavers had 9 points. We scored 25 points total. 9 were from Jazz Shavers, 7 were from Bailey Maupin. I think she scored like maybe all of the last points of the game. She took over kind of at the end of the fourth quarter, and Jazzy started the run. Passed the baton to Bailey, which you'll see from your juniors, and they were really hype after the game. Go watch that press conference if you want to hear from them. And Sarah Sinogo had 6 points in that quarter, and then Logan Johnson had 3. And just gritty defense from all of them. Everybody else that played was big in that quarter. Jalen had a lot of minutes in the fourth quarter and was just solid defensively out there in the press. We're finally getting some turnovers in the press. The crazy number from this fourth quarter is we scored 17 of our 25 points off turnovers in that quarter. And so when we talk about the offense has been a little bit stagnant in the half court, blah, 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 this is true, and it was in this game as well. But in that fourth quarter, we just turned up the intensity defensively and scored the majority of those points off of turnovers. And that's kind of how we got it done. I think we forced 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter, and a few of those were in the press. Some of them were in our half-court defense has been really solid, too. And there was also some really big set plays. The set play that Coach Gerlich drew up out of a timeout to get, I think we were down 5 at the time. And we had closed it. We were down 7, like you talked about. And then we got a bucket. We got a stop, and we had an out-of-bounds play. And instead of just running it, Coach called the timeout. Sets up a beautiful play for Jazzy out on the wing. And she drills the 3. And all of a sudden, we're within 2. And then without even blinking, I think it was Logan Johnson got that steal on the right side, right at midcourt in the press. We go up and we score right there, and all of a sudden it's tied, and the place was going crazy. And then it was kind of back and forth from there, which happens. Like, that's why like that game just needed someone to punch it. It was like someone needs to punch everybody on the floor in the mouth, and let's play a basketball game. And it was like as soon as that jolt of energy picked up, and the crowd got going and the teams got going, both teams started scoring a little bit there at the end, and we had to match them for a bit. And that's not easy to do after a game where it felt like you weren't able to string together any possessions. It felt like you'd score, and then it'd be a few possessions before you scored again. So not only did we have to climb back in, and then it was like, hey, they're not going away. They're not dying. Again, good team, well-coached team. They were not going to just fall over and die. And they started hitting some threes. And then Bailey kind of really closed that game out and got some really big shots, a couple of mid-range shots, and got into the paint, some tough buckets. It was one of the better maybe the best fourth quarter I've seen from Bailey. Probably.
I agree.
The fourth quarter I've seen. That was a Bailey Maupin closer moment that I don't know if we've seen yet in her career. So that was big to see.
It was, yeah. The Washington State actually sunk like 2 threes in a row, so they went on a mini 6-0 run, and then they retook the lead, and then Bailey was able to go in there and kind of finish it off. But I mean, I just think that just coming back down 7-0 in a fourth quarter like that, I mean, that's just incredible. ESPN had us losing at an 86% chance for Washington State to win, and we just completely turned that metric around. But I also want to give a huge shout out. I think as far as leadership goes, yes, your returners Jazzy and Bailey finished it out, but Danae really was in the huddle, hyping up the team, keeping them on track, facilitating the ball well. I mean, incredible to see from her what she's been able to add leadership wise to this team.
Yeah, I agree. She brings a lot of intangibles to this team. We talked about that last week, so we don't have to get into it again.
Right.
But that's why I was a big fan of her when she was in the portal both the past couple of years. She just brings that leadership, that edge, that toughness, and she's talking more. I think that's something she's getting more comfortable doing on this team, because you see it even more in the ACU game, which it was a little bit funky to start the game, and you really saw her like getting people to wake up a little bit and like kind of, hey guys, let's get it together after that first quarter. And then we only allowed 2 points in the second quarter, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I agree. Danae's leadership was big. She had some big moments. She had a huge 3, which you're about to see in these highlights to start the game. And that made us happy, because last week we were like, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Danae's like, I got you, Singing Scarlet. I got y'all. No problem. First points of the game are this 3 from Danae Fritz off of a great little play. This is where it's like, sometimes, man, the offense does it. Sometimes the offense, it's there. It's in them. It's just the consistency.
For sure.
But all the action on this play worked, and she was wide open, and she didn't hesitate. So here's the highlights from this game, especially when it gets to the fourth quarter. You'll have a good time. Buckets.
Today, Fritz with
I mean, too pretty not to be shooting a lot. Let's go.
Waiting to see. That's only her second made this year. Adley Blacklock.
Adley, look away.
Beautiful look inside to Kyla Freeland.
Okay, Magic Johnson.
Kyla had a pretty good game too.
She did. She was big. Kyla's been big all year.
If she's anything like
I hope she's okay.
Really talented.
Yes.
Logan Johnson counted, and the foul's
Pretty.
Logan's been great.
About an 8-second different shot of the game clock. Kohina. In the corner, the 3.
Big shot, big shot.
Dressed out big time.
Look at this little dipsy dude today. Whoop! That should have been an and one, by the way.
It should have.
They called touch fouls all game, and then they don't call that.
Wanting that shot. And that matters. Who on your
Great
team
defense.
wants to take
Great
a big
defense.
Great
Logan
defense.
Johnson.
Boom. Crowd is hype.
Here's that 3 I was talking about. That got us within 2. And I believe we get a steal right after this. They don't show it, but we got a steal after that.
Who on your team wants to take
Oh, it's right there. They showed that play twice. I was very confused while they accidentally showed it out. I was like, I swear that came after the 3.
Right.
It did. Jazzy. I mean, she is just an elite.
Beautiful.
Hitter. When she gets more comfortable to do that more often, like, people can't stay with her.
Ooh,
what a pass.
Beautiful.
And then she took a charge. She took a charge right after this. I don't know if they don't show it, but Bailey took a charge right after that moment. That was huge
she did.
as well. And Jazzy had a charge a few moments earlier. Jazzy, more of that. No one can guard you, Jazzy. They can't guard you.
They've hit 10 of their last 13 shots between the two teams.
This is a big shot right here. Just tough bucket.
Forces that. Got it!
Crazy.
Bailey was talking her shit too. When you get Bailey into that mode where she's talking, you know she's locked in.
Agreed.
I saw her talking some shit in the fourth quarter. I was like, oh, it's over. It's over. After this one right here, they don't show it, but she was yapping. I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. Bailey's got this under control.
Awesome. Sunk in the free throw.
High IQ play here by Bailey. Just chunk it down there. Run the clock out.
So smart.
Yeah. She's just a high IQ
play by Bailey Maupin.
Yeah, that was big time.
Wow.
That was big time stuff. Great game. Here, I think I have a clip from Coach Gerlich after this game y'all can listen to about her thoughts on this game, and then we can close it out before we go into the ACU game.
Yeah, what a huge win for our program, for this team. I'm so proud of the grit and the determination that we played with. It was not pretty by any means, but that was a win that we needed to grind out. It was a win of a game of runs, and we never let one get out of control. I thought we had a response each time they went on one, and I thought that these two young ladies stepped up in the fourth quarter when the game was on the line and went to war. Really went to war, and that's what we got to have. And we had so many kids that stepped up and did some really good things. And again, not playing our best basketball and finding a way to win is huge for us. And I have a lot of respect for, obviously, Cammie Etheridge and just her as a player and a coach and what she's done. And that's a good basketball team. That's a really good basketball team, and they have a great tradition, and that's a huge win for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, you needed that one.
You did.
You hope you're not on the bubble come March. You hope that you're well in the tournament, and there's no question on selection day, right? But if we've started the season on the bubble, if that's still where we are in March, that's a win that will get you into the tournament. They should, barring injuries or craziness happening to Washington State's team, should be a team that competes to win their conference. They should be in the top 2-3 of that conference and have a chance to win it, certainly. And that'll hopefully be a really nice net win. But it should have been a win that tells you, hey, we can hang. We are, because we didn't really have a chance, a barometer type test until pretty late in the year last year. And I feel like this was a chance for them to be like, hey, okay, we at least know our defense is there. It's still,
Right.
There's still growth to be had on the defensive end as well, because I think there were times Washington State just missed some shots. But for the most part, gritty defense, the fourth quarter, all that stuff shows that we can do this. It's in us. And as everything else cleans up and gets better, we can keep doing things and hopefully win games a little bigger. But that was a huge win. I was really excited with that win. That's a big one. You needed that, especially at home. You have some really tough tests coming up on the road, so you want to take advantage of this is really our biggest game that we had at home. Most of our big games in the non-con, all of the rest of them are all on the road or neutral. And so you needed to take care of this. So, yeah, they should be proud. They should be proud of that one.
Yes, they should be. This was a game that when the schedule first got released, I circled it. I was like, this is going to be a good game to see where we're at. Last year, we really didn't get a whole lot of bigger games like this until around almost December. So the fact that we're able to kind of gauge where this team is at early, I think is very important. And like I said, the defense came up huge, and then offense did what they needed to do in the fourth quarter to close that out on an 11-point scoring run. So very impressive stuff there. They didn't just give up when they were down by what felt like more than 7 points. So very impressive.
Yes. 7 points it would have been, at that point, there was 30 points scored in the game probably, is a lot.
Yes.
So, to score 25 in the fourth. And again, most of those points came off defense. So, that's kind of what this team was put together in the offseason to be a defensive team that would be able to score off turnovers. And certainly can shoot and take advantage of those, which we saw, and we'll talk about the ACU game, where the shooting is really what carried us offensively more so than anything else. But yeah, we need to find a way to generate turnovers like that more consistently and be able to score off them the way we did in that fourth quarter. But plenty to grow from. I was excited about that one. And you moved into ACU. Not much rest there. They only had 2 days off before this game, just squeezing in all these games. No rest for the weary. I believe it was last night. It was the 25th anniversary of I'm going to call it the Spirit Arena because it's its birthday. That's what it was.
I still call it that.
Yeah. I refuse to say Supermarkets Arena. It just sounds weird. I just say USA if I'm forced to say anything. I'm like, God, that sounds so weird.
I know.
Spirit Arena, as I know it as, it was its birthday. And so we got on dub against ACU, Abilene Christian, 66-40. Defense was there. 40 points, and we were playing a lot of reserves in that at the end. We probably could have held them to 30 points if we played our main rotation for the fourth quarter as well. So the defense was there. The defense was dominant, as you should be against that team.
Yeah.
They were missing a starter as well. So we had a major height advantage over them. And how many blocks we have in that? 8 or 9 blocks in that. I know that Sarah had 6 and Danae had 3. So we had at least 9.
We had 10.
We had 10. So someone else had a block in there, mixed in there too. So we were just out there, as you should against them. So we did what we were supposed to do. I will say I think our on-ball defense is getting a lot better. That was a concern last week. I thought that's typically mostly just a like need to lock in effort thing, and it feels like maybe they took the. I'm sure the coaches got after him on that, and they took it. I felt like some players were taking it personally, is the best way I can describe it, and how I was talking about it earlier today with some folks is like you could tell they were taking their individual assignments personally. I wish I remember when it happened, and I would have clipped it. There was a specific moment in the ACU game where I think I saw the single best 10 to 20 seconds of defense I've ever seen from Jazz Shavers. Like, and she's had some good moments before, but it was like, I don't know if she had just gotten something said to her, or if she had got scored on in the last play or something. I don't know. But she was so locked in on this one possession of defense where this girl like tried to get past her 4 different times. There was someone that screened at one point. She got around the screen, and she was just like, hell no. Nothing's happening. You're going to have to pass the ball. And finally the girl just literally like just picked up the ball out of frustration and passed it, like after trying a Jazz for like 10 seconds. That's what I mean by like she took it personally. I feel like we need that bit by bit. That's what they're getting, and they played better on ball defense. Danae, we talked about her leadership earlier. I think this might have been her best game. Maybe only scored 3 points, but her defensively was everywhere. I like the box score. I feel like she deserves more steals than the box score says. She was deflecting a lot of balls that ended up in other people's hands, but like I feel like she should get the steal for that because she was the one that anyway. But she was everywhere she was all like at one point we started the second half with a turnover, which we're about to talk about. The turnovers were out of hand. We started the second half with a turnover, and then Danae just went back there and said, swatted it over to Bailey, who threw it up to Jazz, and we scored. And then we went on like a 6-hour run to start the half. But if we don't block that shot, what if they score off of a turnover to start the half? It could be a whole different thing, right? So I thought she was great. And, I mean, just a lot of people had pretty solid games. Jalen busted out. We know what Adley did. We have a clip from Adley from the post game that's hilarious because she's hilarious. But Adley carried us offensively. But
big time.
Yeah, we shot it pretty well. Just the offense is a little bit out of sync still, but the defense played pretty well, and they did what they needed to do, I guess, in this game on a couple of days rest and got it done. And a lot of people, I think everybody that was dressed out and available played in this one, so that's always nice as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, this game it was also another ugly one, but obviously the score you may not necessarily seen that, but it was kind of the game of turnovers, and that's something that we will have to work on when we get closer to conference play, or by Saturday, because we had 27 turnovers base. You also had 26. So at least it was even in that regard. But again, you don't want to have but you don't want to have that statistic going into next week, honestly, when you're in the Paradise Jam. So that was something that was a little, but other than that, Adley, we had 38 bench points, and Adley had 23 of them. So
career high for Adley.
Yes.
Yeah, to touch on the turnovers quickly, and then we can move on. But yeah, like they know that. I don't think we have a clip from Gerlich after the game because we have it from the players instead. But she talks about that after the game. Like they know. I mean, 27 turnovers against a zone it's one thing if you were playing West Virginia and they're pressing you 94 feet. Like it's like, okay, it happens. But I mean, I would have to go back and watch the whole game, but it felt like at least 10 of those turnovers were offensive fouls. We had a bunch of charges. We were a little out of control. Some of them weren't charges, and they were calling them charges. Then they started calling flops at the end, and I was like, well, they're only flopping because you've been calling these ridiculous charges all game. But that's beside the point. Some of them were charges, and we were a little out of control. Right. And then the other of that 10 were, I swear, we had at least 3 to 4 where we just threw it out of bounds on a post entry pass, and I'm like, that's character. Like, what are we doing here? So, and then some skip passes where I don't know what we were thinking. We're just like it just comes down to the offense, and I just feel like we're still getting to know each other. Maybe we're still getting to know the flow, and it was also against the zone, which again, you shouldn't have that many turnovers, but you spend all summer working on man offense, and now 2 out of 5 games we've had to play a zone against a zone team, which is a little bit annoying, but still, you should still be able to move the ball a little bit better. I thought when we did kind of move and weren't just passing it around, like there was points where we were just like passing it station to station around the horn, which is exactly what they want you to do against the zone, so they weren't having to move. And I don't know if that was because of some of the lineups that were in there, but it just felt like nobody thought that it was their job to go to the high post area in some lineups, and no one was like going short corner. And those possessions never worked unless Adley was in there and she just shot a 3 and made them pay. But when we were going high post, when we were going short corner and we were passing it, we got good looks pretty much every time if we didn't turn it over. We didn't always make the shots. We missed some bunnies.
Right.
But we were getting good looks. So, like, you see flashes of it and moments of it. It's still, they're just not in rhythm. It just kind of feels like sometimes they're looking to pass and not looking at the rim and all the things we talked about last week still. And maybe that's just a me thing. I just think that that's an important aspect of offensive basketball, is just to at least peek at the rim and seem like a threat. But I also don't really know what their offensive scheme is trying to be. So I don't know. It just feels like they're the best way I can describe it is it feels like they know that on the third, the fourth pass of their progression, of their motion, that third or fourth person is supposed to be wide open if they do their job. But if they get to that third or the fourth pass and they're not wide open, it's like, oh shit, what do we do now? And there's no reading, reacting from there. But when that third or fourth person is open, works beautifully, we score, you know? So I just feel like it's like that, okay, sometimes things aren't going to go right. Like, what do we do off of that moment? But I'm just choosing to stay hopeful that they'll get there because you see flashes of it. You're like, whoa, I see what they're trying to do. Like, let's do that more. And if they do, but the type of offense, we've talked about it before, the type of offense they're running isn't always the easiest to learn because it takes so much chemistry. But if you do master it, it becomes really hard to guard. So it's a catch-22. It's like not super simple.
It is.
But if we do get it down and we stick with it and have the patience with it and work through the mud and the ugly of it, at some point it could be really pretty, especially with the shooters on this team. So I think that's just what they're trying to do, is just kind of fight through the ugly, and they'll figure it out, is kind of what you got to hope.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it also seems like on offense, it's just a lot of, whatever sets we're trying to run, it's a lot of step by step. And maybe it's kind of like what you were saying, like we're just trying to wait for that one person to get open, or we're going to see if whoever has the ball after that third or fourth pass, if they're able to shoot it. But I think when you're going up against a zone like last night, then yeah, you do need to be able to fire away. And I know that we're about to show the clip of Adley saying she understood her assignment, and she did. She really did. Yeah.
Yeah. Adley's a zone buster to the max. I mean, if we had Jada, they both would have been launching them, and it would have been really hard to guard. So Jada Wynn obviously missed this game. They did say on the broadcast she's expected back this weekend, or at worst during the Paradise Jam, but it sounded like she'd be back this weekend for at least some minutes. But yeah, Adley did her job. That's what you need. You need shooters. But also Jalen made 2 threes, and Logan had a 3, and Jordan Merritt got her first start, and Jordan was great. I thought Jordan was great. Like, she scored the first 5 points of the game when we needed them, and kind of broke the seal a little bit because we were having trouble scoring, and she got the 3, and I think she got the next 2 as well off a nice pass from somebody. She had some good passes, some good moments. She continues to be steady. She also brings that presence at the top of the press, and it got us some turnovers and tried to help us. We just didn't always score off of them.
Right.
But yeah, Adley did her job. Adley, 23 points. Adley has no problem looking at the rim. She catches the ball and isn't just looking. There was that, which at this point, she's in fuego. So she's catching, she's shooting. It was in the second half. I think maybe the last 3 she made, the girl was like inside of her jersey, close to Adley. And Adley still didn't just take the shot. She made the shot. And I think maybe she was fouled on it, or they stopped it for review or something weird. But ain't nobody's telling you to take that shot when you're that close. And she said, F it. Like, she doesn't need space. Like, she has a unique jumper to her shot, the way it goes. And she gets it up there so high that she don't need a lot of space. And she has no problem shooting. And she knows her job. We'll show that clip in a second. But she knows what her role is on this team. Hey, Adley, go out there and get buckets. Go out there and get some shots and bust this zone. She knows what she's there to do.
No, for sure. Yeah, Adley, and it's also an incredible story with her since she's from Lubbock, so I'm sure that everybody loved to see her show out like that. I mean, she had 6 3-pointers? Yeah. Something 6. Like 5, 6? Yeah, 6.
6 of 10.
It's crazy.
Smooth 60%. That's all she took. All 10 shots she took were 3-pointers, and she made 6 of them. She knows her role. She also had 5 rebounds in this game, so she was out there doing it, and a steal. She was doing some other work out there for us, but she knew her job and she did it well. Also, in the same clip that we're about to play with Adley, Jalen Bristow is talking, and they asked her about the second quarter where we only allowed 2 points, and so she talks about that. She does say the halftime speech, but I'll just like to clarify. I think she means the talk between quarters at that moment. So just go with her on that. But she's in here as well. But I thought both the clip from Adley, they ask her what it's like to be in that zone, and then they ask Jalen about the defense. So hear from the players a little bit here.
The feeling you get when you see the ball just leave your hands and just go right into the net.
It's awesome. I kind of black out a little bit just because I'm like so excited because you don't want to take it for granted. Like it's making any shot is, special to me. So it was good today that it happened a little more than usual.
And Jalen, can you talk about the defense in the second quarter? How you guys only allowed 2 points in the second quarter?
Yeah, I would definitely say, Coach Little motivational halftime speech helped a little bit, but I really think it is just like being able to talk as a team, figure out our flaws, fix them right then and there, just, by encouraging each other, talking about what we need to, and then going out and doing it.
Pretty simple. Easy breezy, right, Jalen? She's going to be such a good player. She already is a good player, but she could be great before she leaves Texas Tech. She had a good game, 3 for 4, 2 for 2 on 3-pointers. There's no reason she will not be a above average 3-point shooter. She has a great shot. It was good to see her get a couple to go because she's had a couple just go in and out this year. So now she got a couple to go, and I'll expect that'll just keep happening throughout the season. And at her size, it's such a weapon for her to be able to get out. She's going to be such a mismatch for people now that they, start having to worry about her being able to shoot. Her length is ridiculous on defense. She had 3 rebounds, 1 block, and a couple assists. Okay, Jalen out there dishing out. She did foul out, so she's going to have to learn how to use that. I think that's just because we're asking her to guard some smaller guards sometimes, and well, some people think that, that should be an advantage for her, which it is in some ways. She just has to learn how, if they're smaller than you, they probably are going to be able to get their first step on you because their center of gravity is just so much lower than yours, right? But just don't panic and be like, I have like a foot on this person. Like if they get a step on me, I'm just going to swat their shot. Like it's fine. So I think if she starts learning that, she'll be good. But yeah, she did get in a little bit of foul trouble. That was probably the only negative. But the shots, I mean, it's just wild to see someone of her size, 6'2", out there just Candace Parker, like you said, just out there.
Yes.
Shooting them.
She's also I love whenever we're pressing and we have Jalen in that lineup. Very scrappy player. I mean, she's able to she was leading us in steals, so she's incredible, especially when we're going to get into those games where we may need to press or we may need to start off strong with a press. Like, I want her in that lineup immediately because she's able to just break it like it's nothing. So, great defense from Jalen.
Especially if Kylie's, I don't know the status of her, but people are asking, Kylie did get hurt in this game, but we have no idea what's going on. But if she does miss any time, Jalen will have to fill that role. But when they get out there together, that's a really fun lineup.
Dynamic duo.
There was a couple of times where those two had people in traps, or it was some combination of Jalen Bristow, Kylie Freeland, and Jordan Merritt in that game. When they would get ACU in a trap, I was just like, this just isn't even fair. It's just not even fair. ACU, credit, did a pretty good job most times somehow getting out of it. We need to be better about foot on their throat. Like, don't feel sorry for them. I can feel sorry for them. Y'all don't feel sorry for them. Get the steal. Like, it felt like we were like, oh man, this is wrong or something, and would let up, and then they would sneak around us and pass it. But yeah, we did a pretty good job of that's how we forced a lot of their 26 turnovers. But they're a pretty good shooting team typically, and we did a great job on them shooting wise. I think they only made like 3 threes out of 23. They shot 13%, and that's something that they want to get up a lot of threes. They want to shoot threes at a high clip, and we were able to kind of overcome that. So that just goes back to our defense. But overall, if you look at our box score, right, if you take out the turnovers, which if shoulda, coulda, woulda, like I get it. But if you take out the 27 turnovers, our box score doesn't look that bad, right? 47% from 3. We'll take that all day, right? You had 17 assists on 20 made field goals. You'll take that all day. That's the type of offense Gerlich wants to run. So as ugly as it felt at times, there was good offense in there. When we were scoring, it was coming off of good passing and good motion in this game. Because in the past, like, we weren't necessarily, even in these past games, always scoring off of assists. It was kind of either turnovers or self-generated plays. And in this game, at least when we were scoring, which goes back to them being in the zone, and a lot of it was passing to Adley or someone on the outside, you got 33 of your 63 were from three-point land, so that helps with that. But there's a lot of good things in the box score, but man, those 27 turnovers can't happen. Don't want to harp on them again, but cannot happen. Not against the zone. Absolutely not.
Right.
So they're probably working on that, and in practice, I'm sure. Some of them were just like, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, some of them I didn't even understand. I'm like, did we not sleep last night? Like, it was just some interesting choices, and it happens. I've been there. I get it, but it can't happen again. Let's get that out of our system. We got that game out. We're done. Let's move on from it, hopefully, and we'll look a little cleaner. Because if we don't turn it over 27 times, we probably score 80 points in that game. And it's probably 80 to 40 or 80 to 30 because they're not getting points off turnovers. So that's what could happen on Saturday, right? That's what you hope, is if this team fully puts it together where they're shooting as well as they did against ACU, and they're not turning it over, and they're playing solid defense. Hopefully that'll be that game. Last one in Lubbock for a bit before they head out of town. I believe it's at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
Yes, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Be there.
Against New Orleans.
Who's not won a game yet.
They've played some tough competition, to be fair, but yes, we should absolutely win that game. I'm not even going to sit here and mess with a scouting report for you guys.
No.
They haven't had a great start through the season, but they played Power 5 competition and really good competition. They played Bama and TCU, so they're not floating in here, not being used to playing some good teams and good talent, so they're going to be ready. But yeah, if we played our capabilities, we should handle business in that. And hopefully a lot of people get to play and all the things, but let's just focus on getting better. Keep getting better each game like they've been doing, finding moments, because after that, maybe we'll have a show next week, Thanksgiving. We'll see. Hopefully we'll see y'all again, maybe earlier in the week than we've been doing, if we do a show. But if not, just keep your head on a swivel, because they play 3 games next week over Thanksgiving in 3 days. Not going to be easy. Depth is going to be important. So it was good to see everybody get to play against ACU, because I do think those folks are going to be asked to play in that Paradise Jam against some really solid teams. They play Florida State, who started the season ranked. And just in case we don't talk to you next week, I'm planning to try to do something, but just in case it doesn't happen because it's a holiday, Florida State is like first in the nation. They have the number 1 scorer in the nation and the number 1 rebounder, 2 separate people. They are second in the nation as a team in scoring offense at over 100 a game. So it'll be a good test for our defense to prove that we can defense against a pretty electric offense. But that's next week. Our team can't focus on that until next week. But just in case you don't see us, that's kind of what they have ahead of them.
Right. I think also, when you're going into games like Florida State and we're on that rebounding battle. I think rebounding has also kind of been something that we're kind of working on, but it seems like one game it's defensive rebounds, and last night was offensive rebounds. But I think that's where, Sarah's going to go in and step up. I mean, she's already been great. Yeah, like 6 blocks last night. I mean, she has her block parties every day at the USA. So she's been great, but I can't wait to see even what she'll do against competition like Florida State. It'll be a great battle down low in the box.
Yeah, it'll be a big test. I thought she handled herself well against a bigger Washington State team, so that gave me a little bit of hope that she has it in her. But I think she's like 3rd in the nation in blocks this season or something silly. She's doing the dang thing. I mean, some of them against ACU were just disrespectful in the best way. I love it. Keep being disrespectful. She's just swatting them, telling people they're too small. I mean, I'm here for all of that. Bring the edge, Sarah. I love it. So yeah, she's been great. Excited to see them go to work on Saturday, and then next week while I'm eating some turkey, watching some basketball. It'll be good times.
I will. Very excited for Paradise Jam.
Cool. All right, let's wrap this up with a few quick hitters. Volleyball, shout out to the seniors. Didn't go the way they wanted it last week, but they did have senior day. Got beat by Iowa State. Maybe the emotions got to them. Who knows? But those seniors deserve the love. Like they've done the thing, especially Madden Cray that stuck around. But even the players that have come in, Ellie Merrick, Reagan Lyonen, Mia Wesley. Who else am I forgetting? I'm forgetting Elena. Who else is seniors this year? That might be it. I might have covered everybody. But they've
Simone.
Simone. Yes.
Yes.
Simone's story has been, I mean,
I love
bless her.
Simone.
She's been through it, and
Yes.
she just keeps fighting. So, yeah, a lot of respect for those seniors and what they're doing. They're trying to make this the best season they can. Tough loss, but more importantly, shout out the seniors in that one. And they were playing Baylor tonight. I think they might have lost to Baylor. They were giving them some good fight in that first set for a while, but they went on the road to number 17 Baylor tonight and dropped one. I think they're back at home next week, perhaps. I don't know.
I think they're playing Houston next week. I don't remember what day though.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're around still in Lubbock for the holidays, want to sneak in some holiday volleyball, there you go. You got them. Men's basketball quickly, 4-0 to start. Handled the business as they should. They haven't really played anybody. They know this. They're not tooting their own horns, but they have looked good. They have looked good. They have
Very
looked
good.
fun. They're taking care of business. And we'll find out a lot about them this weekend. They're up in Brooklyn. They have games Thursday night and Friday night. Thursday they play, is it Seton? No.
St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph's. And then they play the winner of Syracuse or Texas. I know which one our fans want, but we don't know which one we're going to get. So we'll get one of those on Friday night. But yeah, that's men's basketball. Keep an eye on them up in Brooklyn. And then football, back in action this week against Oklahoma State. And I kind of respected the message from Joey this week. It's how I go about watching football. I know people hate it, whatever. But he was like, hey, I get it. We want to win Big 12 championships. I'm not happy not winning Big 12 championships, but our job here is to progress the program forward. And I'm happy we finally have a coach that's like gets it in that way, because football has not been good for a long time. They just haven't, and that's the truth. And he's not shying away from that. He's like, hey, we haven't won 8 games in a long time, or 9 games or whatever it is in a long time. He's like, if we win the next 2, win a bowl game, we can do something that hasn't been done here since 2008 or 2009. Like, that is progressing the program forward. And I personally love to hear that type of perspective, and not just this all or nothing, because I think this all or nothing approach that people are putting around the football team is not doing them any favors, because it makes it seem like, oh God, the season's over. There's nothing to work for. Like, no, you got all these weeks of practice, you got all these weeks of games, keep getting better so that next year you're ready to fight and win the Big 12. But there's nothing, 9 games would be a really successful season if they can get there. But they got to take care of business this week and then next week as well, and then whatever bowl they get. Also, I would love to see us get put in the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yes, please. The Pop-Tart Bowl.
And I feel like we need to at least have 8 wins to do that.
I think
going
so.
Into it. To give us a chance to be at least that 4th or 5th or so in the big, up there towards the top of the standings, to be in the Pop, because that's one of the bigger bowls. That's not an actual playoff game. So I would love to be in the Pop-Tart Bowl. That would be hella fun. I might even go to it. Who doesn't want to see
Where's
that?
it located?
So, I honestly don't know. Is that in Orlando?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
It's in
We'll have to
Florida.
see. I just know that the winner gets to choose between like a berry Pop-Tart, a like hot fudge one, or a mystery one.
Hot fudge. Which one would you pick, Tyler?
I would pick mystery, but if anyone picks wild berry, then I don't know.
I'm not a Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
I'm not a. I mean, if I.
I don't eat them either, but
strawberry.
Yeah, I don't know why that one's not there.
I think that's what they did
But-
last year, so they're probably trying to mix
Probably.
it. You know?
Yes, but imagine Taj, because I think the MVP gets to choose. So Taj Brooks,
Choosing.
gets to choose the Pop-Tart. Yep.
Sounds like it's a really important decision. Some people might get
I
mad
know.
at him. I don't know. Who's gonna choose? I think I'd go mystery for funsies. He doesn't have to eat it, does he?
I don't think so. I don't
I don't
know.
know how it works. But anyway, that's football. They're doing the dang thing. And there's probably a lot of other things going on in sports right now. But we'll wrap it up with that for now. And we'll see you guys when we see you. I don't know when that'll be. So hopefully next week. But if not, ciao. Watch soccer. Do all the things.
Yes. Wreck Duke.
Wreck Duke. Give the Blue Devils.